and welcome back to another episode of the Sports Department Podcast with Justin Valentovic, Joe Paolantonio, Stephen Clark, and Stephen Bologna. The road to WrestleMania is in our rearview mirror, and we are finally back to the real sports. We're talking some baseball. We're about 2 weeks into the season. Time for the good old overreactions. As usual, the Yankees worst in the AL, which does my heart a ton of good. The Mets still can't get DeGrom any run support, so that doesn't change. But Marcus Stroman,
last game.
He had to get it himself a little bit. But Marcus Stroman and Edwin DIaz are kind of turning out to be the players they expect them to be when they traded for. And we'll get into a few other teams like the White Sox, the Red Sox, and the Braves, and a few teams that do they actually suck or don't they? But guys, what's going on before we get into it?
I'm doing good, doing great.
I'm doing good. I'm happy to be here. It's been let's keep it real here. The standings look like you took the preseason standings and flipped them upside down in almost every division. It really is crazy. I mean, we have so many teams that we had such high hopes for who have just been bad for the past 7 to 10 days. And I mean, we're going to talk about like the Red Sox. Oh boy. But the highlight of baseball has been that Dodgers-Padres series over the weekend.
Awesome. Just awesome.
Popcorn.
I watched the first game like all the way through, which of course for us was like 3 a.m. I was just delirious and I had no idea what was going on anymore. Like Cronenworth was pitching, then you had like his pitcher playing the outfield. I don't know. But then, they have a lot of emotion that series, so that's good for baseball because that's what they need.
Really good for baseball. That was box office.
I'm doing good.
Yeah, I mean, I was so happy that we just had 1,000 straight wrestling podcasts to be put out. So I had a lot of content to go through.
A lot of them. Every single second you had to watch.
Oh man, WrestleMania, it was a doozy. It was a doozy, but
nights you don't care. So let's talk about what you do care about, and that is baseball. And we'll start off with the New York Yankees. And like Joe talked about, the standings are flipped upside down and on their head. And for the first time, basically since all of us were born, the Yankees are in sole possession of last place in the American League. God, I really want to buy in. It's like, this is the year they're terrible. But honestly, don't want it to be, because then they get Jack Leiter or Kumar Rocker. And then, oh boy, that's going to be terrible. But it's too early. Yes, they are bad, but they will still make a deep postseason run. But there are a few glaring issues that they do need to sort out, and Cashman does need to get a hold of and make some changes, i.e. the starting rotation is after Garrett Cole. What the hell are they doing? Let's see what happens. And defensively, they do need to fix quite a few things.
I love that Justin's like, he's like, they're in sole possession of last place. Like,
He's
it's the
so
end
happy.
of the season.
He's so happy.
Sole possession of it.
Man, that's not nice. What if the Orioles were in sole possession of last place?
They normally are.
The thing is, it's disrespectful.
It is.
Justin is chipping away at how bad the Yankees are, but he won't say that they're terrible. He won't say that they're going to be terrible. And the reason is because the only series the Yankees won was against the Orioles. So he has that little piece of, we beat the Yankees in a series this year.
Did the Yankees have a sweep though this season? No.
Justin's not throwing
Baltimore
the overboard because he wants to cling on to that as a great series.
That's his World Series victory right there. Oh man.
Well, let's talk about the real issues though. The rotation after Garrett Cole is a big problem.
And even involved, I'll throw Garrett Cole in that problem a little bit. Like, he's been kind of lackluster lately too, as of late. It's not the same Garrett Cole that we've seen and we've been accustomed to be seeing, but they have to address it somehow.
I mean, he's still striking out.
Say you trade him.
Bring him to the other side of New York. I'll take him.
The two guys that Cashman took a gamble on, Taillon and Kluber, they're not working out as they thought they would, considering each of them has only given about 10 innings in 3 starts, which is bad because at that point you're just an opener. And the Yankees bullpen is pretty good, but also if you're having them go to it early in the 3rd to 4th inning for 2 games back to back, you're going to tax a lot of arms. And long term, the Yankees need that bullpen.
No, absolutely. It's really just terrible roster construction by Brian Cashman to pick up 2 starting pitchers. I mean, you're going to place Tanaka and Paxton with 2 guys who've pitched a combined 2 innings in the last 2 major league seasons. it's almost like, like this is like an extended spring training for them. I mean, how much can we really say about Tyone right now after a couple like 5-inning starts where he hasn't thrown in 2 years? It's really the same thing with Kluber, but I expect a little bit more from Kluber.
Yeah. I mean, again, obviously as a Yankee fan, you don't like to see 5 wins and 11 losses. On the Paxton side, they did avoid a bullet there because Paxton is out for, I don't know, this year and next year most likely. Hopefully he recovers soon. But again, Yankees hit the injury bug with Luke Voit before the start of the season. They bring in the retiree to play first base, Jay Bruce. Joe, I'm curious to know your stance on this. I am not a big Aaron Hicks guy. I think defensively at times really great. Also very bad. He's in the 3-hole too. I'm just not buying into his hype.
Aaron Hicks has been a disaster this year, to say the very least. Because everything that he was supposed to do well, everything that he brought to the game, taking pitches, working walks, and his cannon arm in center field haven't even been factors this year. I mean, he's been doing those bad too. Like, it's 15 games. I mean, we'll say that. Like, this is not who Aaron Hicks is going to be over the course of 162. I mean, his problems are the same as everyone else's problems. It's just it's different sides of the same coin. Like every batter is like having like major issues. Clint Frazier can't swing the bat. Gleyber Torres can't hit it out of the infield. Aaron Hicks just cannot make contact. Aaron Judge is taking pitches right down the middle. Giancarlo Stanton is mentally just fractured and can't hit in a big spot and really only in garbage time. It's like each guy is terrible, but in a different way.
But they're all bad at the same time, which is
bad.
The goon squad.
Nothing good.
But see, I guess what's raising the alarm for most Yankee fans is that this has basically been the same team for the past 2 to 3 years, and they haven't gotten to the World Series. So the fact that it's this rough of a start, it's like, what if this is the end or beginning of the end of where this team needs to be shaken up a little bit?
I agree with that, and I don't agree with that. It's just early at this point too. Teams get off to slow starts and wind up making deep playoff runs, like you said. It's too early to be making all these assumptions. It's just maybe everyone's going to be hot as anything in the next couple of months. Everyone's going to be on a hitting streaks and everything, and strikeouts left and right in May and June. We don't know. But it's just a cold start, and the Yankee fans aren't used to having cold starts and second worst team in the league. Then they're not used to this. That's why this is the biggest hype right now.
Well, and another thing is the Yankees needed a solid middle infielder that you can put in the late innings for a defensive replacement. And they go out and get Rougned Odor, who doesn't play shortstop, and he strikes out a lot. What add him to the team then?
Rougned Odor is not a major league caliber player. I thought that, I was like, the guy was playing every single day.
It's worth the flyer.
I thought he was real. He's not. He's not a baseball player. He's terrible. There is nothing he contributes to the team.
And the look without the beard too ain't suiting him too well.
It's tough.
It's tough.
It's like Andrelton Simmons was there for the taking. It would have been so easy to just pass on DJ, grounded into double play, and have him go somewhere else. But why did you have to resign DJ LeMahieu? And you feel like this is it. It wasn't a smart decision. It wasn't a smart decision then. It's not a smart decision.
Well, that's because of the roster construction. Is Cashman's boxed himself into a corner that they have no flexibility anywhere. Because what's going to happen now? When Voit comes back, you're going to get rid of Odor, which is fine, but it's like, okay, then DJ slides over, and then that's your infield solidified. Simple as that.
At the same time, Joe, LeMahieu has been the Yankees' best hitter. And, of course, that was to be expected. Obviously, best hitter right now is not that great to have because everyone stinks. But, Giancarlo Stanton just continuously – every year, high hope. This is the 50 home run year, 110 RBIs, and then strikes out opening day 4 times, and it's just the same thing.
Hey, he had a grand slam against the Orioles.
That was a good moment. That was good.
That's the only good moment.
Who hit that off of Wade LeBlanc?
I think that was Kramer.
But again, it's just the classic Yankee home run or bust mentality.
They're not hitting home runs. That's the thing.
That's the problem. The ball's dead end.
It's bust or bust right now. They're hitting. They're actually like hitting singles. Like you look like they have like 6, 7, 8 hits in some of these.
The problem is they deadened the ball, and then the Yankees were built to take advantage of the juice ball.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, the thing is here, and this is why I still am not really that worried, and it has nothing to do with the Yankees itself. It's like Mookie Betts is not on the Red Sox. Blake Snell is not on the Rays. Justin Verlander is not playing for the Astros. The White Sox are a bunch of young boys. I mean, the Royals, the Mariners, the Red Sox aren't legit. It's not like there's a team in the American League that's this juggernaut that the Yankees can't beat, even as bad as they're playing. That's why I'm not running.
It's just the Rays. I don't know why.
They're the only one who, because the Yankees
are
trying. Well, because the Yankees are trying to outsmart the Rays at what the Rays do best, which is play analytic baseball.
Fucking hate Kevin Cash with a passion.
I hate it. I don't like looking at him. Him and Alex Crowe. It's like why?
Yeah.
I would love to see like Aaron Judge and Kevin Cash fight. I would love to see that. Just
it'd look Pedro and Don Zimmer.
Yeah. No, I mean, listen, if the Yankees, I know it's early, but if the Yankees somehow, we'll go Memorial Day, are still in this doozy, you have to look at the managerial situation. And if they somehow miss the playoffs or lose in the wild card, I think it's time for Boone to go, because you get rid of Girardi, who was one game away from the World Series.
With his team who was inexperienced and young and had nothing to lose.
They haven't gotten closer.
No, that was the closest they've gotten. They've regressed each year.
So Boone should have been the guy to get them to the World Series, even just to get there, and they failed miserably multiple times. So
the thing with Boone and with Girardi is that Judge makes this error in right field against the Blue Jays that almost allows Kevin Biggio to hit an inside the park home run. And in the press conference, they asked Aaron Boone about it. He said it was a good play by Judge to get the ball back in. An error.
He's a player's manager. That's why he's there.
It's
kids' gloves.
When did Gary Sanchez have his best offensive seasons? It was when Joe Girardi benched him. And Joe Girardi was pushing him. Also,
Joe Girardi was a catcher, so he could kind of knew how to help him out there.
that is good. I mean, this whole
Boone's only there because of that home run. Let's be honest.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah,
that's it. It's the same reason.
Oh, not him tearing his ACL in basketball the next offseason.
Well, which then got them A-Rod. So there you go.
I mean, this whole Aaron Boone will just go in the press conference like, we battled today.
Well, that's the thing. Boone's going to be the scapegoat if they don't make a deep playoff run, and then after that, can you really give Cashman another GM?
Why would you fire
another manager?
The guy's battled out there. Why would Aaron Boone get fired?
Maybe you guys will hire Carlos Beltran.
Yeah. Any last thoughts on the Yankees?
It would be the same thing if they fired Boone. They're not going to bring in Buck Showalter or Jorge.
Clint Hurdle.
Clint Hurdle.
Does he have a job anywhere or no?
No.
Yeah, he ain't getting another one.
They'll bring in Jay Bruce.
Do you think they just said we're going to release you, so just retire?
He probably looked around.
That was probably an agreement. That was probably an agreement. Like if once Voit was ready, he's like, I'm done.
He watched the game against Tampa Bay when they.
That was so weird that he was in the dugout. They're like celebrating Jay Bruce Day. It's like he had a cup of coffee here.
Didn't even give him an at bat as a send off.
But then they played that video of Joey Votto it was very weird how they handled.
Where did they get baseballs? Where did the fans get all those balls?
That was crazy. My God.
Where did they get them?
Souvenir shop, yankeeshop.com.
Well,
I don't know.
People say it was from batting practice. Also, how Tampa was throwing the balls into the stand after batting practice, so they just had a plethora of them.
I'd keep those. That's cool. Keep the ball.
Who were the Astros playing when they threw the garbage can on the field?
The Angels. I love that fan base.
That was classic.
Yeah.
Non-existent fan base.
Any last thoughts on the Yankees?
It's early. It's very early still.
Let's
talk about my favorite team.
There we go.
The Kansas City Royals.
Who are we on to? Oh, the Mets.
LFGM.
LFGM.
That's run to the restroom.
After the.
Okay.
Okay.
Have fun.
Bye, Joe.
Have you seen the Mets commercial where it's like Let's get masked.
Let's get masked, baby. Let's get
So-
masked.
Hilarious.
The Mets are off to a 7-4 start, pretty good, and they had a relatively good outing in Colorado, taking 2 out of 3 from the Rockies after weather delay after weather delay, and the gods just didn't want Jacob DeGrom to pitch.
But
They
we're
did.
recording this Monday, and in Chicago, it's supposed to be bad too, where they're
Oh
going
my
to
God,
next. So
that's brutal. Yeah, but the Cubs are bad, so they should take advantage of that. But the main thing with the Mets is that Stroman and Diaz are panning out like we thought they were going to. You know, Stroman has a sub-1 ERA, which is insane after 3 starts, and then Edwin Diaz hasn't shit the bed yet in the bullpen. He's 2 for 2 in saves. So if they're pitching half as well as they are now, that's big for the Mets.
yeah, just wait till the bats are clicking. The bats haven't been too hot yet. That's the main problem with the Mets right now. I mean, they're getting their hits. They're trying to drive runs in, even though a lot of the time they're having a lot of trouble with that. But the Mets had every excuse basically to be bad for the start of the season. No Lugo, no Syndergaard, no Carrasco. Just JD Davis got hurt. They had every single excuse to be bad. Oh wow, there it is.
Is that where you got out of the bathroom?
He'll be back.
I guess.
I guess we
but
know
I was just
what your
saying,
stance on the Mets is then.
the Mets had every excuse to be bad for these first couple of games. And the weather delays too, the COVID, like I said, Syndergaard, Carrasco, everybody hurt, JD Davis, but they've honestly exceeded expectations for these first couple of games. And it's just proving that once this team starts getting hot, then what's the ceiling here? What's really the ceiling for this team?
Well, and McCann and Lindor have been big impact players already for him.
Yeah.
Not with the bats.
No,
Not
but
with the bats.
Defense
defensively, it's fixing the team. That was their big issue. You know, obviously you had the game on Sunday end with McCann throwing out Trevor Story. You know, Wilson Ramos isn't making that throw.
No, that's sailing into center field through Brandon Nimmo's leg and going to the wall. That's what's happening there. But hey, they're doing their leadership. They have these big leadership roles in this team. I mean, they're the new guys on the team, and like Steve said, defensively they're doing phenomenally. Offensively, they need to step up a little bit because Nimmo's just basically the only guy in offense right now. He's getting on base almost every single game and just phenomenal, drawing walks, singles, whatever it takes. But it's just the bats need to start clicking for this team, and then they're set. They're really set.
So with Conforto, he's struggling. Do you think it's the idea of the free agent year creeping into his mind, and that's why he's kind of slumping a little bit? Because you see a lot of players when they go into the prove it year, you know, they typically, some have good years, but others have bad years, and maybe this is just one of the times they have a bad year because Conforto isn't nearly half the player he has been even when he was hurt, he was better than what he is now.
Yeah, I don't think. I mean, Conforto had a nice little 60 game run, I guess, and it's easy to get swept up and carried away with that. But before that, it was solid, but he wasn't a great player the 2 years before it. So I think like all this love for Conforto is very swept up in this 60 game season and this vision that Mets fans have always had for Conforto to reach that true potential. I don't know if he's that guy. I don't know if he's on the same level as a hitter as Brandon Nimmo, Dom Smith, and Francisco Lindor. Guys like that.
I'm a big Dom Smith guy.
Oh, me too.
He's good. It just sucks he can't play first.
DH. You know? We need the DH.
He has to be playing every day. I mean, if you could throw him in left and sit Conforto down for a little while, what's the problem?
Yeah. But back to Conforto. I don't think it's the contract here. I really don't. I think Joe actually nailed it on the head. It's just the higher expectations that were never really there for the type of caliber player that he is. He did get 2 hits in the last game within the Rockies, but that's the Rockies again. So maybe he's starting to come around now. I don't know. But if he keeps up the way he's going, I don't see him coming back next year. I'll say it right now. But what are you going to do? It happens. But I don't know. I just think their expectations are too high for him right now.
You know, I think Conforto is definitely better than, your average center fielder. He's definitely above average. But at the same time, you have to see what kind of money he's going to request, in nowadays where everyone just
wants the base is $30 million for like everybody.
Yeah. So, you'll have to see. Sandy.
No, that's what they asked for, Joe. Is that what they're actually worth?
On a yearly basis?
Conforto's probably worth what, 20?
Top tier players ask for that.
He'll get 20 a year.
I mean, the Mets didn't, sign any other big names because of Lindor and Conforto. So you assume they have plans to bring him back. But like you said, I mean, he hasn't been playing the best. Clark, I want to go back to your point. You said that the Mets had all the excuses to lose the first couple games. What's the excuse for losing the first 2 games when DeGrom pitched?
Bats. Like I said, also the bats need to start clicking. It's literally just the bats.
But does J.D. Davis really swing that pendulum?
No, but it's better than playing Luis Guillorme in there with his 5 foot long.
He hasn't been terrible, funny enough, Guillorme. He's funny.
Defensively, he's pretty rough at times, and he's supposed to be a defensive replacement.
Yeah, it's just, the confidence of having your starters back. That it just adds to it in general. Just having a full healthy team, you have the whole confidence. Like, hey, we can go out there and sweep a series or win a series or go on this win streak or something. But I don't know. That's all I got. Bats didn't click. Bats didn't click. They never click for DeGrom because they rely too much on DeGrom to just win the game for them, and they slack and they get all lazy, and then they wind up losing the game. And DeGrom has a losing record as a whole. So, yeah,
there's a lot of new guys. There's I mean, with Lindor and McCann and then Trevor May, it's
my boy
to get into the fold. It's going to take a little while, and then they had the delayed start of the season. The game that was the most egregious was the game they lost to the Marlins, where DeGrom absolutely dominated, and they still lost that Saturday afternoon. But since then, really, I think since then it's been Mets. They haven't lost since. They lost the one game of the Rockies.
Just the one to the Rockies.
Yeah, they lost the second game of the double.
Lucchesi on the mound, which he won't be seeing the mound too much longer once the guys get healthy.
Joey Potts.
They can click. They can really click.
This kind of goes to my next point. The Mets need to take advantage of Acuna being day-to-day just because he's playing like an NL MVP. He has 7 home runs, 1 billion RBIs already. And he's the main cog in the Braves offense. Granted, Sunday, they killed the Cubs and everyone else was hitting just home run after home run after home run. But if he wasn't there, they would be a lot worse. So now is the time for the Mets to take advantage and create some space between them and the Braves because they're really the only other ones coming for that division.
I mean, the Marlins look really fun. I mean, they're like almost in every game. I don't think they're going to compete for the division, but that's a team that's going to give the Mets definitely some headaches over the course of the year. The Nationals, I will give you. I'm ready to write those off right now.
You think they
without Strasburg and Pat Corbin?
Yeah, it's brutal.
It's getting tough over there.
And then their lack of a bullpen. But then the Phillies, are they good? Are they bad? I don't know.
They're decent. No.
Fraudulent team.
Ooh.
It's their bullpen. It's their starting. It's just their pitching. After Nola is just so. I mean, Wheeler's pretty good at times, but it's just like
Nola.
After them, it's just like, oh boy, where are we going? But the Mets, they really got to take advantage of it now and try to create some space because any lead is a good amount of wins because the Braves will come for that pretty fast.
Yep, I agree.
Yeah.
All right, so let's talk about a team who Joe would probably say is fraudulent, and that's the Boston Red Sox. They got swept from the Orioles in opening week. Very happy about that. And then they rattled off a lot of wins. Now they're 11-6, sitting on top of the East. We always kind of said they're a bad team. They have no defense and they have no pitching. Well, their bats woke up and they just hit after hit after hit after hit. It won't last. They're built not to last.
Are you sure?
I don't think so because we saw against Baltimore.
The guys who are hitting are not flash in the pans.
But we saw against Baltimore when they can't hit, they're abysmal.
Team. I mean, we're talking about JD, the dog.
They've been trying to move him for years,
and it's a good thing they didn't because the guy, I mean, monster. Guy's a monster. I mean, these are not flash in the pan.
So the Red Sox a good or bad team?
Red Sox right now, I think the Red Sox are looking like a good team right now. I think the bullpen is pitching well, which is a shock. Other than Mike Showren, friend of the pod, Mike Showren. I mean, other than Adam Ottavino, the Red Sox bullpen, which is supposed to be terrible, has been pretty solid. It's been pretty solid. Nathan Eovaldi, stud. I don't think he's given up a barrel all year.
Yeah, but they're like, I'm gonna go back to the point Justin made too. It's just the bats are clicking again. It's the amount of runs they're putting up per game is, even if the pitching does decline a little bit, that it's okay. They're putting up constantly upper like numbers, like from 5+ runs a game, almost 4+ runs a game. If you're consistently getting a lot of runs like that, it's okay if your pitching flacks off a little bit too.
It hides the pitching giving up about 3 to 4 runs. Then
Exactly.
At that point.
If you're winning 10-5, like it looks fantastic. You scored 10 runs, even though you gave up 5, which is horrible on a normal day. But scoring 10 runs covers that up. But I think they're good for now too. I think they are really good. They're just clicking on all cylinders, and I don't think they're going to keep this lead. I do think either the Rays or the Yankees will eventually take back the East as the months become clearer. But good for them, honestly. Good for them. No one was expecting this, honestly.
I think it's nice to see Verdugo finally starting to hit his potential. He looks good, really good,
and it shows they actually got some return back from Mookie Betts.
Yeah.
Yeah, the trade looks a little bit better.
I mean, the Dodgers got a World Series out of him already.
I don't think they get a World Series.
But Xander Bogaerts, though.
Great
player. Move him.
What? Signed him.
Yeah. Rebuild.
Rafael Devers, Xander Bogaerts, JD
Devers is finally hitting a baseball, which is good because he needs to do that.
But Devers has been good for years.
Inconsistent.
Mm-hmm.
He was very streaky. Very streaky.
I mean, yeah. Other than Mike Trout, who doesn't go through slump?
So, in closing, let's talk about the series of this past weekend, and that was the Dodgers and the Padres, the two heavy favorites to come out of the National League for the World Series. Obviously, the Dodgers, they reloaded and added players when they didn't even have to in Trevor Bauer to deepen that rotation even more, pushing David Price, of all people, out of the bullpen again. And then you got the Padres, who are a fun, exciting team, a lot of energy, great for baseball, but they're lacking in the bullpen department. So even though they only took 1 out of 3 from the Dodgers this past weekend, can they take the throne of NL West champions from the Dodgers?
Clark with a firm no there.
No, I don't think the Dodgers are the powerhouse of the MLB. You just, I know they have a fun team and it's all fun and games, and you have Fernando Tatis and you have good old Manny Machado out there, and they have a fun little team. It's nice and cute. It's exciting. It was like the Warriors, and they were coming up with Steph Curry and Klay Thompson. It was nice. It was fun. Everyone liked them at first, but they just don't have enough to be the Dodgers in a series or anything, or even to take the division. I don't think they have enough.
You know, sorry to cut you off, Joe. You look at, let's call it a 3-game series, right?
Yeah.
That's Darvish game 1, Snell game 2, Musgrove game 3.
And Chris Paddock, potentially.
Yeah, I think that's honestly,
Lamet.
that's a really good.
Oh, yeah, and Nelson Lamet.
Yeah,
and they even have Clevenger also.
It depends when he's back.
If he's healthy.
I mean, I think that's a pitching staff that could go up against the Dodgers. And I mean, if Tatis and, Cronenworth's been playing out of his mind. You have Machado in there. Hosmer's also been playing much higher than we expected.
He's actually living up to the contract a little bit.
I think these two teams will meet in the NLCS, and I think it's going to be a really fun series. Can the Padres do it? My gut wants to say yes, but I don't think they will.
Joe, what do you got?
Well, I think that, first of all, I'll say this. Jace Tingler's not a good manager. It was easy. It was buried by all the talent in the 60-game season. But watching this series, Jace Tingler is an absolute disaster. However, I think this team is talented enough to overcome that. Because this could have been a 3-game sweep by the Padres. Like, it very well could have been. It took 11 innings, and that.
Well, and then you had Cronenworth pitching, like Musgrove out and left. It's
exactly.
like how do you manage yourself into this?
It was the 11th inning, and you would have thought it was the 23rd inning by the way the Padres were aligned.
And that's with the ghost runner on, and this game just kept going.
Oh, and game 2, Tommy Pham hits a line drive to right center field, and Mookie Betts dives and makes a play. He does it. The Padres, it could have easily been a 3-game sweep. So the reaction that the Dodgers won 2 out of 3, the Dodgers are superiorly better. It's not so. It's not so. And
sounds like Joe's buying into the hype a little bit.
Oh, I'm buying into the hype. They're fiery. I like the yelling. It's nice.
The yelling.
Yeah, it's cool. I mean, the Padres.
It's the emotion.
Team. The Padres are a really, really good team.
And they're young.
I'm not saying they're a bad team. I just don't think they're more superior than the Dodgers. That's all I'm saying. And you have to make that comparison. Like, I know you don't want to make that comparison because they're in the same division and all that, but you kind of have to.
They could win 95 games and be a wild card team.
Yeah, 100% agree with that. But I just don't.
And that's the thing.
The crown.
Whoever doesn't win the West is gonna be the home team for the wild card game.
Yeah,
it's as simple as that.
Absolutely, and I mean they'll probably face an NL East team. And
it all depends on who they make a move for at the deadline because they're all in. We saw that with the Darvish and Snell acquisitions. So I wouldn't be surprised if they go out and get a few big name bullpen arms, whoever that may be, and reinforce the back end of the bullpen. And that's how they can really go at the Dodgers.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean,
thank God we got 16 more of these games though, because it's gonna be awesome.
It's awesome. I think that the Padres and the Dodgers are going to be great. I
think next weekend they play again, and it's Sunday Night Baseball too.
Oh baby,
it's going to be great to see the Mets power through both of them on their way to the
World. We powered our way through to the end of this podcast. So Clark, where can everyone listen to the next ones come up, which I think will be an NFL draft one coming up soon?
Yeah, just waiting on the big norms to lock down a time.
I'll never
playing been playing hooky on me
for a mock draft.
He's playing MLB The Show.
Yeah, he's on Saturday. He's like, yeah, Sunday works. Then he's like, no, not Sunday. Monday works. He's like, I can't do today.
Yeah, Joe, go figure. Jesse said he's enjoying MLB The Show.
I mean, I know a lot of people that have never watched football and they love FIFA. So
I thought you were talking about Madden for a second.
Football, Joseph.
No. That's American football, Justin.
Joe, what's your opinion on the Super League being formed?
I don't know. People are upset about it on Twitter, so I'm also upset about it.
Yeah. It's definitely not a good look.
Okay.
But anyways, thank you guys for listening to this episode of the Sports Comment Podcast. We appreciate it. Jesse, who won't do a mock draft, is appreciating it as well. Subscribe on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify. Follow our social medias on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok at Sports Depth Pod. That's Sports DEPT Pod. Justin said we got a mock draft coming up, the draft episode coming up. Same old sports stuff. We're back. Basketball playoffs are starting soon. The puck stick sport is coming up with the playoffs coming really soon. So we'll probably get a pod on that too. Stay tuned to all that fun stuff, and we'll see you in the next episode.